Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Growth Capital Podcast. I am your host, Justin Dixon, and today we've got Arshia on the podcast. He is the founder and CEO of Solenery, which is a one-stop shop platform for residential and commercial property owners to access clean energy upgrades for their properties. So it's an interesting episode because Arshia is an entrepreneur from way back. He started his first business when he was 7, and then he started another business when he was in high school, which he then sold to the school system that he was in. So super fascinating start to his life from an entrepreneurial perspective. And then he's had a few other startups. So we talk a lot about the startup community in Canada, which is where he's based in Toronto. And then we also dig deep into his current venture. So I think you'll get a lot out of this episode. So let's get Arshia on the pod. Interested in hearing conversations with private equity leaders, CEOs of private equity-backed companies, and startup entrepreneurs where they share their stories about their career journeys, starting, investing in, and scaling successful businesses, and the important role that having the right talent plays in building a successful business, then you are in the right place. Welcome back to another episode of the Growth Capital Podcast. Here's your host, Justin Dixon. Arshia, thank you for being a guest on the pod. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me, Justin.
Yeah, no, well, let's jump right in. Give us a little bit of an overview of, for the folks that are watching and listening, who you are, where you are, and what you're up to right now.
Okay, so right now I have founded a startup called Solenery. We are located in Toronto, but our serving area is North America. So our headquarters is in Toronto, but we have another headquarters in Vancouver as well.
Okay.
What we do right now is that we are trying to simplify the process for property owners to get energy upgrades from renewables, from solar, HVAC, new heat pumps, EV chargers, anything they want, just by entering their address into our platform.
And so is this for investors, for just homeowners? Is it for single family houses, commercial property? Like who's your target kind of audience for that?
So we have several audiences, but our main focus is commercial properties and also the single custom homes that they have one property owner, specifically for mid-rise and low-rise buildings, not for high-rises. But what we are trying to do is that we are looking to expand our target market into more commercial and industrial properties as well in next 6 months.
Got it. So if I own, a small multifamily, 2 or 4 unit, what are some of the benefits to having, some energy upgrades? So maybe walk through kind of the economics of if somebody, let's say you've got a 4-unit property in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania or something like that. And you're like, cool, I want to, do some upgrades. How does that work?
Okay. So the main pain point here, it was that when we did our market research, the point was that there are different incentives from different providers, different utilities, like governments, like states. There are different people that they are providing different incentives, and people get overwhelmed and they cannot find a single source that they can just simply enter their address and know what are the incentives. I know that the situation right now is a bit tough in states compared to the Canada incentive-wise because of the rebates that were removed from solar specifically. But what we do is that the main pain point we are solving for the property owners is that they come into our platform, they enter their address, we create a profile with like their building information and data about like how they can say, what is their energy scores. We use AI to do the initial assessment so they can get the initial information about what their energy usage and how they are using energy right now. And the next step was that we come up with some recommendations. For example, if you get solar, you will save this month, you will get this incentives. Down the road, this is going to be your return of investment. And once they want to move forward with any of these upgrades, we do have a vetted network of providers and contractors, like different locations, and we ask them to provide codes. So at the end of the day, they can compare different codes and different roadmaps, and they decide to move on, then they will be out of our platform and will move forward with those contractors as well. So what we're trying to do is that we want to make one-stop shop for the property owners to see all the incentives, see qualified contractors see the clear return of investments, because if you get different quotes from like different solar companies or like heat pump HVAC providers, you will get different numbers. So it's going to be so confusing. And also the applying for incentives to see if they're eligible or not, what are the criteria. All these things are the pain points that we are solving right now.
How did you come up with this idea? Because it's kind of interesting. It seems like it's a SaaS-y kind of platform, but also, and I guess what's the economic model for you? Or is it a subscription service for me as a homeowner to use, or do you get some type of kind of, I guess, incentive or kickback from the service providers? That if they use, if the lead came through your platform.
That's a very good question. The main starting point for me for Solenery was when I was 15 years old and I was at high school. So I was always wondering about new technologies and how we can save energy and how we can find new resources. By that time, that was very like common sense to me, that if we have the big sun out there, why we are digging holes, those and stuff. And it was like as a teenager, that was very common sense to me. So at that time, I had this idea of building a solar tracker, which was inspired by sunflowers. So that time, like 17 years ago, this was a bit rocket science. Right now, you can order it on Amazon, but that time it wasn't there. So I started doing I was always in tech, and I started developing and software as a sun tracker. So we put them on solar PVs, and they followed the sun during the day to get the best possible angles to be more efficient. So this was the starting point that I called that product Solenery. I secured a patent for that, and I was very interested to like build it and expand it and make it like as a commercial product. But my life changed a little bit at journey. So I started another company once. I started my bachelor, then I got into different businesses, different ideas, different startups. But after doing my master program here in Queen's University, I did like innovation and entrepreneurship. So I said, okay, now it's time to get back to the initial passion and idea that I had and find out what we can do with that idea and the current situation and the current technologies, which was like AI wasn't that much trending, but I was in tech and I was, always interested to know what's coming up.
Yeah.
So I like called some of like my previous team members from like my previous companies and told them the whole idea. We started building a kind of market research team. We studied a market. We had like different interviews, more than 50 interviews with different people, different locations, to come up with the exact pain points of the user side of the things. And this helped us to identify some very clear pain points that people are facing right now in North America. And then we use design thinking process to come up with that idea and how we want to solve it and how we want to leverage AI to come up with that. The thing that we came up was that most of the companies that they are in this industries, they are engineer focused, and because of that, they are not that much customer centric. So I had this like skill set of working on different industries, different projects, and problem solving using design thinking. So I said, why not? This time we solve this problem, which is compared to my previous companies, which is more bigger and also has more social impact than other ideas.
Yeah, so it sounds like this was a multi, decade or at least a decade and a half passion project.
To call it like,
yeah, sorry, decade and a half, maybe. Sorry about that. But you've had this idea for a while, and obviously life sometimes gets in the way of entrepreneurial ventures. But it sounds like you've always had that entrepreneurial bug and passion. Talk us through kind of the impetus of some of the other businesses, because I'm always curious about, founders are kind of unique people, because they, instead of going to work for somebody, they either identify a problem or they just know that they would be better served for the broader humanity to start a business and employ people versus being an employee of a company. So what were some of your early ventures? I'm just kind of curious how that kind of started for you.
Yeah, exactly. So the reason that I'm doing this is that I don't know how I can work for someone else or how I can be a 9 to 5 person. So I don't have that skill set. So there's no other way to survive rather than like building new companies. But my very, very like starting point was when I was 7. So I started selling plants at school. But that was a very like mini venture. So
Yeah.
my father was an entrepreneur, my uncle as well. So I was always in the atmosphere. But my very first startup was when I was at high school. With one of my close friends, we saw that there are too many papers. There are like too many print versions of things. And at that time, we said, why not that you start doing everything digital and online? So, for example, weekly quizzes, like weekly plans, following up with parents, all this stuff, everything on a platform like as a learning management system. So we didn't know the coding. We hired someone else out of school, so some this is like senior developer. At first, he didn't took us that much serious, but we said, okay, we are going to pay you, and he said, okay, I will do it. So we created that platform for our own school, and that worked very well on the side of the teachers. All of our classmates were mad at us because they were like, dude, what are you doing now? Everything is going to be tracked, but ended up as an exist. So our the school owner and the boss, they just like invited us and said, okay, we are going to buy this platform from you guys and implement it onto all the schools that are around, and they are just connected to each other. So this was my very first exit. That was quite tempting at that time. But afterwards, I get into like different ventures. Like I was always looking for opportunities, and I was lucky to have like the better co-founders compared to others. So they were always pushing me, and that network helped me to do like different ventures. Obviously, I had too many failures as well. So specifically in tech, but the main point that the connecting line between all these ideas was innovation.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, obviously, being a high school student, I definitely, if I can think back to when I was in high school, I definitely was not thinking about businesses to start or, or anything like that. So that's always super cool when I find people like you that just have that entrepreneurial bug, and it's just, and obviously you grew up with it, with your dad and uncle being entrepreneurs. That's a great kind of starting point because I grew up in a household where it was all people that both my parents were just 9 to 5 workers, right? And they were great work ethics. So I just learned that was kind of my upbringing. And so being an entrepreneur that word didn't even exist in my vocabulary until I got out of college and into the working world and all of that stuff. So super interesting. So let's go back to your current venture. Where's the business right now? How big is it? Like, do you have a lot of people? Or are you kind of just getting off the ground? Like, talk us through kind of where it is in the life cycle of a startup.
So we call ourselves pre-seed because we
Okay.
raised a small amount of money last summer to like start building the product. The way we did it, as I said, we bootstrapped. We start doing the market research. We found out the real pain points, and we started building an MVP. So we launched it. We found that it's working out there. Right now, we are in last sprints of building our user side platform. It's going to be live by end of February, which is like the optimal thing that we can do right now with our current situation. During these last 3-4 months, we started our marketing activities and like getting to know different industry partners, onboarding like different contractors and providers. Specifically in Canada and Toronto, we started around ourselves. So we are going to launch the new version of the product by end of February, hopefully, and we will have different campaigns, and we want to take advantage of this spring and summer.
And from a platform perspective, is it a subscription model where I, as a homeowner, if I'm putting in my information, do I have to pay to get the data, or are you is the economic model for you to have the subscription actually be the service providers of solar, whatever the case is? So and then it's obviously free for the consumer to put in their information. How will that work eventually once
Yeah,
you guys fully?
yeah. Um, from the like user standing point, it's going to be free because it doesn't make sense to charge them. Uh, the way that we are charging is that mainly on like the cuts from those providers and contractors, and also we are negotiating with different utilities to be do a partnership with them as well. because one of the points right now in current market is that there are plenty of incentives from like utility providers, governments and stuff, but people are not that much aware of it. And they get lost because there are too many resources that I need to, when I get something, I need to see, okay, so my utility provider, they are doing these grants. So my city, they are doing these incentives, or there's like states, provincial, they are doing their own things. And also on the federal stage or on the like states level, the country level, they are doing more stuff. So I don't know what to do. So we are addressing that issue, and because this is their issue as well, so we are partnering up with the more kind of B2C and B2G kind of partners to like create some value for them as well, and then charge them.
Got it. No, it's interesting. I guess because you've been in the entrepreneurial world, being a founder multiple times, give me your sense of, the startup ecosystem in Canada. Obviously, I'm based in Austin. I talk to a lot of startup founders across the U.S., but I don't tap into Canada quite often. So I'm just kind of curious how the startup vibe is in Canada, and are you? Are most Canadian startups trying to service Canada, or do they always look at North America as their kind of total addressable market, kind of as the initial, just given kind of proximity and everything like that?
Mm, to be honest, like in terms of the numbers, if you want to like make it something that logical, we need to expand to like different countries because the population here is not that much. So we have like 50, like to the fullest people that here, 50 million. But what we are looking at this point is that we are serving Canada first, because we do have different partners here. But speaking generally about what's happening here in terms of like tech ecosystem, it's getting very better in terms of like competitions and like talents we have compared to like last 5 years, if you want to say. And there are some reasons that whatever is happening between states and Canada helped like some of the talents they are coming back and they're starting again, and they want to be part of the community to giving back to Canada as well. But we need to consider this point that at the end of the day, this partnership between two countries is crucial for both parties. So we do have very good talent here. We are more diverse because of like the immigration situation for last decades compared to states. So we had the opportunity to track good talents from different countries here. At the same time, we are building the infrastructure. We have too many new innovation centers, like where we are like now located. This building is like 2 years old, so everyone is pushing, and we do have very good funders, that the unicorn funders, that they're reinvesting here. So we have seen too many incubators, kind of like venture building corporations here, that they are pushing different founders. So I'm very optimistic about the situation here, because this founder community that we have, that we are trying to push each other, and also we are looking to have the next generation of the founders coming out, uh, specifically with the current situation, that like each person with having a good idea, knowing the AI tools, they can come up with an MVP, they can easily test it. I remember my first startup, it took us like a year to come up with the MVP. Right now it takes me 1 hour to come up with it.
Yeah.
So this is going crazy. I think there is an opportunity in terms of like talents, resources we need to build that companies. But at the end of the day, we should look at it without emotions and say, okay, we need people to serve, to generate that revenue, to have that business working. So, and for that, I think we need to look a bit international, even more than the States, uh, to find out those specific people that we can serve. My own perspective, it's been always, I see all of my companies global. So I don't see it as like I'm doing this for this city, because in my definition, that is like being a business owner. So if you're a business owner, you want to serve this like location, you want to expand it like into your neighborhoods and stuff. That's a small business owner. But when we are talking about tech, solving bigger problems, innovation, this doesn't make sense unless you serve like a group of people that are all around the world, no matter where they are located.
Yeah. Yeah, and tech just gives you that ability to not think about the businesses as think about the business more as borderless, right? Because if you've got an HVAC company, you're going to be servicing your immediate area first, right? You can't go service somebody in the UK or the whatever in day two. But with tech, you can, if when you launch this more broadly, you may get people all over the world that are trying it out just because it's available, right? And so I think that's super interesting. I was curious about the Toronto startup scene. So obviously, it sounds like there's more incubators and accelerators that are popping online. How is the funding in Canada? I was at a conference the other day, and they were saying there's over 6,000 private equity firms in the U.S. Loosely defined, whatever they define private equity as. It could be one person or it could be multiple. But what's the opportunity to raise capital if you do need to raise money if you're a startup founder in Canada? Is there an abundance of VC, private equity, angel groups? Like, does that kind of exist up in that region?
Yeah, we do have like too many angel groups, and we have different funds available. Most of them are focused on few industries.
Okay.
Um, the point for me, and like when I talk to different founders that they are younger than me and they are like early stage finding their first company, is that I tell them that don't worry about funding, because if you have a solid business model and you have the proof and track record of this is working out there are money that you can get. So there isn't any problem getting money unless you have something which is an idea that everyone has
Yeah.
ideas, and you don't have a proof for it, or you don't have a traction, or you don't know what you are doing. So in my experience, I didn't have any problem finding this kind of funds and VCs and people. And it turned out to me the other way. For Solenery, I had like different opportunities to decide the direction that I want to go, because I didn't want to go to VCs at first point because we didn't need that much money. So I think the scene here, of course, like the amount of capital is going to be, it's less than what we have in the States. That's the reason that more startups are looking for like American VCs, and they are working with them very well. But at the end of the day, I think if again look at this borderless, you can even find investors from Europe that they are coming to like America, like from Asia, different
Yeah.
locations, that if you are a good founder with a solid business plan, you wouldn't have any problem. Because I think compared to the value that entrepreneurs and like people who are being tech products brings to those investors, they don't have any other way to go. Like what they want to do, they want to do like the real estate, or this is the value that you cannot compromise for those VCs and for those PE firms or whatever they are looking. They are the ones looking for entrepreneurs, but the real entrepreneurs and the real founders with the solid numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, the vibe coding world is kind of interesting because I'm not a tech person, but now if I go talk to Lovable, I can create something that is usable, right? It's not gonna be scalable. Obviously, you need to bring in a team to do that. But, a few years ago, if I had an idea for a tech product, I was SOL. I would have to go find, a tech co-founder to help me build the MVP and probably pay them and all this other fun stuff. Whereas now I can go, sit down with Lovable over the couple of hours and, chat about what I want and how I want it. And it does it, which is kind of fascinating. I guess thinking back to your first startup could have been helpful to help you kind of expedite the kind of MVP process at that point.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the whole tech industry in terms of like building the MVPs prototypes, it's totally shifted in last 6 months, I guess.
Yeah.
Because like in last 2 years, we had different products that they were telling that they are going to be that product that we have. But right now we have, as you mentioned, Lovable is one of them. We have plenty of them out there that you can really rely on. And the change that we are facing right now is that like 2 years ago, if you wanted to do something, you would need to be more expert in that niche area. Now you need to know that area, but at the same time, you need to have that holistic vision around it. If you have that thing, so like imagine someone as a product owner that knows numbers as well. This is the best combination right now, because you can talk to these kind of products, you can come up with the MVP, you can justify your numbers, and boom, you have a working startup out there that you can easily raise and you can easily generate revenue. So 2 years ago, everyone were talking about that. People like me who are more generalist and who are more like look at the things from different angles, we are not that much successful, because like VCs or like investors or like the markets are looking for deep experts in one thing that they want to do. And that was like a pattern that was everyone doing. We found like a tech savvy, very like a kind of CTO. They built the product, they got initial market fit, and then the VCs or PEs or whoever was working, they put another as CEO there, and they were the ones in terms of like doing all these things. Now those CEOs, we can do these products themselves. Still, we need help with like different like tech people. Therefore, we have a very talented team at Solenery that wouldn't be possible without them. But the communication timeline is just like less than 10 minutes. If I used to like tell my dev team that I want to do this, I used to first draw the sketch, like doing the wireframing, and then wireframing would get into like the prototypes, and the prototypes would be like ready for like review, and then they will be ready for dev, and then that like the developer would hop in and like start coding it, and then we need to again review it, and like, you see, this was our life. You remember?
Yeah.
Now they're all like, I talked to these guys, I said, okay, this is what I want. Shows me, I send it right away to my developer, make it scalable. I just want this with 1,000 users. Build it right away. So I think it shifted us, but at the same time, I'm concerned that we would have that like pandemic that everyone thinks they're entrepreneur, but it's not about just a product. You should know better than me. It's all about the numbers.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think that it could open up doors to people like myself who are non-tech if I wanted to ever start a tech company, but also then it could flood the market with a bunch of okay ideas, maybe. I don't know. But I guess the market will decide if the ideas are good or not. So as we kind of wind things down here, I guess thoughts on or what are your goals, I guess, for the company over the next, in 2026 or the next 12 months? You've obviously you're starting to launch marketing. You've got some kind of track record on the front end side. Like, what are the next kind of milestones you're looking to achieve here in 26?
I cannot talk that much in detail in terms of like numbers, but in terms of what we are generally looking for in 2026 is that get our name out there and start solving that real problem that we identified. So for me, the best way to like measure the success that we are having or not is that to see the product we have built, it's out there, and even people come to us like with negative feedbacks. It doesn't matter that much, but I want to see that people are using it and they're coming to us and they are seeing the room for like any collaboration or like any modification that would make their life easier. Because this problem is something like very important in terms of like the needs of energy that we have. There is no other way, that we need to switch to more efficient ways. So my main goal for 2026 would be watching people using this product and they getting back to us and say, okay, so we need this, we need that. And we get more detailed feedbacks and more detailed like pain points, and start finding ways and adding more features to our platform, address that specific pain points.
No, I love it. Makes sense. Well, I wish you the best of luck. So let's wind this thing down with a 3-pack of questions that I ask every guest. First question here is, what's a book that you found influential that you would like to recommend to the audience?
If you want to talk business wise, I always try to read articles rather than books because they are more updated with the current situation that we have. I suggest HBR, MIT articles from their business schools. But if you want to mention one specific book in business, would be Disruptive Innovation,
Okay.
which very useful for me. That these are from the series of Blue Ocean Strategy. That's the next book from the same writer. Yeah, that's it.
Love it. Awesome. All right. What's one of your favorite things that you do outside of work?
Oh, there are too many things. I try to experience different aspects of life in order to connect those dots that I mentioned. I really find out different angles, different perspectives. One of the things that I do regularly is that once a week I should visit different art galleries and artworks, this stuff like that. I'm trying to keep up with art out of my business side. And it's interesting to know that sometimes that helps me way more in the business. So it happened to me that I was visiting an art gallery in Boston, and I said, okay, now we can do it, because it gave me that space to be out of office and be focused on something else. And then I found that bandwidth in my brain. So bing, we got it.
Yeah. That's interesting. I haven't heard, I always hear people I take walks or I go for a run, I go sit by a creek or something. And that's that ability for your brain to kind of do what it wants to do. And then you solve a problem that you've been thinking about for days, weeks, months, whatever. But for you, it's art galleries. That's fascinating. You're the first person I've heard that uses art galleries as their brain space, which makes sense because you have to focus on, what's in front of you versus trying to take in everything. So I love it. Awesome. Final question here. What is your favorite vacation spot?
I could say Vienna would be my first go-to place.
Okay.
Because of the history and art and all the things that I'm really interested in. I was spent the summer there and studied innovation there, but that was my best combo. I was studying innovation and I was visiting different museums and galleries.
Yeah.
So that looked like my dream city.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate the time. If people want to reach out to you, Arshia, if they want to reach out to you, what's the best way to catch you? Where's the best way to reach you?
I'm always checking my inbox on LinkedIn, so I think LinkedIn would be the best way. And I would love to help anyone who's starting their journey as an entrepreneur, specifically in Canada. So would be more than happy to help them in different ways.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, I appreciate you being a guest on the podcast. It was great to hear about your story. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed the conversation.
I hope you found at least one actionable insight from this episode of the Growth Capital Podcast, your one-stop shop for insights from private equity leaders, CEOs, and startup entrepreneurs on starting, investing in, and scaling successful businesses, as well as the role having the right talent plays in growing a successful business. It would be greatly appreciated if you would rate and review this podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe and drop us a comment so we can expand the audience of this podcast. Thank you for all your support, and don't forget about upcoming episodes dropping every Tuesday.